Hey guys, it's Natalie here, and today I'm going to be telling you the story of my first date. Well, sort of. It's complicated. Now, you're probably wondering, how can a first date be complicated? Well, it is. Um, I actually don't really know if I count it as my first date, but I guess a lot of people have had, like, first date horror stories, so mine is not that bad compared to it. I guess I'll count it as my first date, but that's why it's sort of. So anyway, my first date was about a year ago, and um, it it started out a mess and it ended a mess. Now, it was not with my current boyfriend. It was with a different boy. Um, and it was my ex, my past boyfriend. And so no shade towards him. This was none of his fault. This was my thing, my fault. So basically, we decided to go to the movies, and I was like, I'm gonna bring my friends along on my first date, because at the time my parents didn't know that I was dating this boy, and I didn't want him to know. Here's a quick tip to anyone out there. Please tell your parents when you're dating someone. It makes things so much easier. Just be honest with them, because trust me, in the end, it's just gonna be a mess that you don't want to deal with. It's just gonna make things so much worse if you lie. So be honest with your parents when it comes to dating. All right, cool. That's my quick tip. I mean, obviously, if you choose to go and be secretive, that's your thing. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it's just a quick tip from what I've learned. So anyway, my parents didn't know I was dating him, so I was like, I'm going to bring my friends along on this date so that I can pretend that I'm just hanging out with my friends. So I had my friends pick me up, and surprisingly, or I guess ironically, my mom checked to see who was picking me up. Luckily, it was my friends. So basically then we go to the movies, and we're waiting in line to buy our ticket, and then he comes in and I see him, and so I freak out. Instead of wanting to walk up to him, I'm like, no, you. And my parents, really, Natalie, my friends are like pushing me towards him. And they're like, come on, go. And I was like, okay, fine. So then I went up to him, said hi, and stuff like that. So we wait outside the theater, and this is more just a funny part of it, is that I decided to sit on the garbage can. Why? Because I'm Natalie. And his response to it was, that's trashy. Ha. Ha ha ha. 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 Anyway, so, we are just waiting, and then we go into the theater, and so we're watching the theater, really, Natalie, I can't English today. We're watching the movie, and suddenly I'm like, something feels weird. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like Natalie. And I assume maybe it's just that I'm nervous, okay. But it just got worse and worse, and I just felt like, I was like, no, something does not feel right. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, and I was just like, I don't feel good. And I was like, oh, I just took a new medicine. It's gotta be that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna go back in that theater and tell him, because you gotta be quiet in there. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wait outside, and eventually he'll realize that I've been gone for a while and he'll come and find me. So I'm pacing outside the theater, because I'm like super worked up because of the way that I'm feeling because of my medicine. And so I'm just waiting, and I walk for like 10 minutes just waiting for him to come out. He never came. So I was like, I guess I have to go back in that theater and I have to tell him. So I walk up into the theater. What? Really? I walk into the theater and I'm like, hey, so I need to go. And he's like, oh, why? And I'm like, I got an allergic reaction to my medicine. And he's like, oh, okay. And so, you know, we walk out the theater and we say goodbye. I had my parents pick me up and we both go home. And so my friends were still in the theater. I forgot to tell my friends that I got an allergic reaction. So I'm home, you know, I go right to sleep because I don't feel good. And I just, you know, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. Peace out. This is the end of the night. And I get like continuous like FaceTime calls, texts, like my phone is blowing up. So I sleep with my phone under my pillow so I can hear all the buzzing. And so I was like, what's going on? So it was my friends blowing up my phone because they thought I went home with the guy. And I was like, no. I literally had to send them a picture of me in my bed and I was like, I'm home, like, you know. And then they FaceTimed me and I was like, look, I'm in my bed, you know, I'm not feeling good, I just want to go to sleep. And they're like, okay, we just wanted to check up on you. And so that was that. The next day, it was just nothing, you know. I felt better the next day, and that was it. I did continue dating the guy, but we eventually broke up. The date just ended up being like a funny story, pretty much. At the time it wasn't funny, but looking back I find it like, you know, entertaining. It's an interesting memory to say the least. So basically, I don't know if I count it as my first date because it was a mess, but I guess sometimes you can't control your first date. A lot of times it ends up being a mess, and that's just the fun of first dates. So I guess it does count, but I guess, I don't know. That's why it's my first date. Sort of. So anyway, thank you for watching. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Bye!